roads in its upcoming new product and what a mobile strategy might look like for them. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So one of the things that we've been talking about again and again, both today, but also over the last 6 or 9 months, is the ways in which some of our experiences on digital and web platforms, especially when it comes to advertising and marketing, move to mobile. And one of course, the arguments often made about mobile banner advertising is that we are still seeing relatively high click-through rates and engagement rates and response rates, in part because it's still a bit of a honeymoon. There's a novelty factor. There's also that share of voice, which might degrade over time, certainly might degrade on a tablet platform. So one of the things that we're also starting to see on the mobile side is some of the same pressures that were applied to the ecosystem on the web that are starting to be applied in mobile. We're starting to see an immense amount of inventory, of unsold inventory and unfilled inventory coming into the market. And it's just waiting, obviously, to be filled with poorly targeted, unimaginative, penny CRM banners. And the risk is certainly there that mobile could turn into the same sort of penny ante game of web banners that the internet became for a number of years. How do we avoid this? Do we avoid it? How do we come at mobile and look at mobile differently as an ad network and an ad banner ecosystem than perhaps the way we looked at the web? To take up this topic, we have someone who has seen that evolution across multiple platforms, one of MediaPost's old friends and one of the earliest adopters of mobile marketing on the agency side, Jeremy Lockhorn, who's the Director of Emerging Media and Video Innovation at Razorfish. Jeremy runs the Razorfish think tank on new media forms and how to leverage them for all of the agency's clients. He spent the last 15 years in digital, positioning himself on pretty much every platform right as it's about to take off. Jeremy, please talk to us about ad networks, mobile ad banners, and invisibility on the web.
Fabulous. Thanks,
Jeremy.
Steve, for that overly generous introduction. So yeah, I think Steve kind of summarized the topic here today pretty nicely. There's clearly an increasing glut of inventory out there, and it becomes a very complicated sort of a supply and demand conversation. And we're going to try and dig into some ways that we're adding value to that inventory and see if we can avoid this sort of banner blindness challenge that we have on the desktop web. Before I kick things off, I'm just going to ask each one of the panelists to go down the line and quickly introduce themselves and just give us your role and kind of your perspective really quickly on this topic. 1 minute or less. Go.
I'm Bill Elena. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at My Yearbook. If you're not familiar with My Yearbook, it's a social network that's built around meeting new people, and the focus is all about the concept of making new friends in a social environment. We recently launched mobile apps less than even a year ago, and we've gone from 0 traffic in mobile to 2 billion monthly ad impressions, 2 billion monthly page views. And that's been a challenge. It's been a good challenge to take on, but it's something that we'll talk about here, and I think it's been referenced very early on, is that the challenge is we're seeing clearly very low CPMs and very much unsold inventory, and how we want to attack that is something that I've had a lot of thought on over the past few months, and something that hopefully we'll talk about today.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Benjamin Dorr. I'm with Rhythm. Rhythm provides an advertising technology platform for selling and serving brand advertising in premium media partners and immersive media. And I say brand in terms of the traditional sense of driving awareness, recall, preference, demand. And I say brand by not saying online versus mobile or video versus display, but full screen immersive experiences. One of the things that we feel about that is that advertising inventory is basically infinite, but attention is scarce. We only have so much time to spend with media, and we only have so much time to spend with advertisers delivering their brand message, and we want to be within those immersive contexts as opposed to delivering banners everywhere into infinite inventory.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hi, everyone. Ryan Griffin with Digitas. We are a full-service digital marketing agency, which from our perspective really just means that we handle really everything from creative to media to technology, production, development, as well as analytics. My role there is firmly in the media sphere, so really just providing that perspective for the agency across the United States. I have a day job as well running the Mars chocolate business, so for any media partners out there, be gentle. coming out of here. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Rubin, and I work for AT&T Interactive. And AT&T Interactive is the online and mobile division for AT&T. We have YP.com, which is a top 40 website, and then we have YP Mobile, that as an application is preloaded on close to 40 million AT&T phones. We have consumer applications. We also have a very large in-app location-enabled mobile app network. And we see real strong opportunities and value in local as it relates to local advertising and also for national retailers and brands.
Hi, my name is Marcus Startzel. I'm with Millennial Media. Millennial was founded about 5 years ago, mobile advertising platform really focused on helping advertisers succeed in mobile. Excited to talk with the rest of the folks here to talk some real examples about how advertisers are succeeding today and how that relates to the ecosystem.
Great, thanks. So let me start with kind of a really high-level question, right? Like, as Steve mentioned, generally speaking, in the mobile space, we're seeing higher click-through rates as well as higher deltas in terms of brand performance than we are on the desktop web. But we've kind of seen this movie before, right? Like, click-through rates used to be much higher than they are today on the desktop web. I'd love to just kind of get a quick survey. Like, what's our perspective there? Do we feel like mobile is going to follow the same path that .com has and that we're going to see those drop? Or do we really believe that we can maintain those kind of high standards? And kind of maybe the second question is what are some of the keys to maintaining that high performance?
I can start. I think there's probably a little bit of both. I think first off, the click-through rates probably won't drop as low as you're seeing on the web. And I think it was mentioned earlier, though, I think a major part of that is share of voice. Particularly on phones, you're dealing with really one ads placement, and that's all you could pretty much put on the page. I think that's a big factor of it. And I think, look, as a publisher, I want to put as many ads as I can on my pages. So on a phone, it's very hard to do. So you're kind of feel trapped with that. And but I think that's beneficial to the ad space. Sure.
Can I give the glib answer, which is, should we be worrying about click-through rates for these sorts of things? I mean, I think that is this measure that there's obviously a fat finger problem when it comes to a lot of the advertising on mobile, even banners and full-page ads and things like that that are inflating click-through rates. But the most important thing is, and the most important measure for an advertiser delivering a message is was my ad seen? Was someone able to see it? How much time did they spend with it? What was the completion rate for video? I think there are measures that we can go beyond the click-through rate and should, completion rate for video being one of the most important ones for brand advertisers. And what you do with that canvas is much more important than how someone clicks through. All you're getting in that case are the people self-selecting for your brand, not the people that are on the fence or may not know you.
I would just reiterate. I mean, we've kind of seen this movie before, and we've been given a bit of a fresh rope from marketers. I mean, I really distinctly hope that we're not going to all collectively hang ourselves with it again. Could not be more disappointed anytime I come in and see folks lead with click-through rates in a meeting. I think we really need to obviously, again, learn from the past to move beyond this and start talking about the real business value that we're able to now measure and now create. Certainly there are challenges, which we'll get into here from a mobile perspective pretty well. But at the end of the day, I hope we move past it and move past it quickly.
So what's your perspective, though, on, let's look at the deltas in brand performance, right? Like, you're still seeing much higher lifts with mobile than you are with .com. Like, how do you feel about that? Is that
to that point? There's a lot going on there. You've got obviously a little bit of decreased clutter, and we talked about that. Stuff can break through. It's new. It's novel. You've got probably some incidental kind of interaction as well, but. At the end of the day, yeah, you're going to see those come down, but I think that, again, mobile's got so many different kind of unique capacities as we kind of build out what this channel starts to look like for marketers that I think some of those unique advantages are going to maintain a bit of a delta. Not the same, obviously, not a 4x or a 3x or, what we're still seeing now, but, a good 1.5 to 2x I think could be healthy if we do it the right way.
okay?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that and add on and say that, the time for, sorry.
Dueling microphones.
All right. The time to measure mobile by traditional digital metrics is quickly ending. The mobile device, to Ryan's point, offers you so much more capability. If you go to our website and look at our campaign summaries, you see brands that are succeeding, whether it's GNC driving people into their stores, or Buick driving test drives, or Patagonia driving downloads of their app. There are so many great examples of brands succeeding in mobile and taking advantage of what the mobile device can do that the computer cannot. You can carry it right into the store. Not that you can't carry your laptop, you certainly can, but it's more likely than not you're not going to do that. So yes, click-through rates are higher and engagement rates are higher, and they probably will be for quite some time because it is a device that you've got with you all the time, and it takes up 100% of the screen. And when you're watching a video, to Ben's point, you're watching that video. It's not going on in the background while you're checking sports scores. So mobile has such an opportunity, and the click-through rate is the way that we are measuring things, because we're by and large, mobile today is being bought by digital agencies that are forced, just the way the business is run, to try to measure things on digital metrics. But the truth of the matter is that click to call and someone walking into the store, all those things are very hard to measure digitally, and therefore it's really hard to compare them to other medias. So, the true comparison is, how does mobile, from your perspective, Michael, replace the billboard or the sandwich board or the taxi cab roof? That's the real future of mobile.
Yeah, from the local perspective, right now we like clicks, and we see as the smartphone consumption just grows and grows, and we're seeing statistically that people are using local content more and more, and everything is saying that this will grow from now on. And as a result of that, it bodes well for local advertisers as well as national retailers who want to take advantage of kind of the local advertising, the location that's enabled through the phones and everything. And what we're measuring now is we measure the click. We also measure calls, because a lot of our advertisers, local advertisers, they have call tracking numbers. So we know from that mobile device, from that particular publisher, that somebody clicked on their ad, they called them, they spent X amount of time with them. We measure map usage in terms of how many times people actually launch a map, and then we'll start looking at actually the driving directions and actually when the person comes into the store. So that stuff, most of it's available now. We're looking at it, and it'll even get better as time moves on, and we see the consumption and kind of the use of that growing a lot.
Yep. I think the last two comments I think are really interesting. How do we capitalize on the unique inherent benefits of the device while delivering an experience that's valuable to the consumer, right? And then looping that back with the analytics against those unique characteristics as well, I think can tell a really compelling story. So I want to switch gears a little bit, and I always throw this quote out there because I love it. It's 1960s copywriter named Howard Gossage was one of the most boisterous critics of the advertising world, and he has this great, very pithy quote that just says, people don't read advertising, they read what interests them, and sometimes it's advertising, right? It's a very simple way to say that as you get more relevant, people pay more attention to it, right? So I think, we've been talking about different ways that mobile can engage consumers, and I'd like to move into different ways that we can leverage targeting to wrap ads around those experiences and make it more relevant, right? So I guess the first question is, what experience have you guys had with different flavors of targeting? What kinds of targeting have you experimented with? And what's been most effective? And anybody can start. We don't have to go down the line.
Sure. I'll start again. So what we're doing is, from the targeting perspective, first thing right now we're leveraging is location. Approximately up to maybe 20-25% of consumers allow a location to be, they allow their location to be used. So with that, with our local ads and our local ad network, we're able to target that user based on the phone and where they are. Secondary, what we are looking at is if a publisher is willing to pass, maybe it's just certain basic demographic information, nothing personally identifiable, then we can look at that and then also then distribute even more relevant ads to that person based on kind of who they are and maybe where they live. And then we're now starting to look at third-party research within very small DMAs to understand what exists in this area. What is it, more of a business area? Is it residential? And as a result of that, certain people work there, they live there, and by understanding those profiles, we can actually then deliver even more relevant ads at the right time and the right place.
I would echo that location is an incredible piece of information that more and more consumers are starting to understand. The relevant value that is returned to them by providing the ability to use their location. I think back to a campaign that we ran with McDonald's a couple years ago. They were really trying to get the word out about their new McCafe, and I think it was a mocha actually, or something like that. But it targeted specific city blocks, using precision location to drive people into trial, drive them directly into a store. So I think that was, very compelling. And I think
was that a conquest campaign? Like, were they targeting competitive shops, or were they trying to drive people? Were they targeting where McDonald's were?
Yeah, if I could release that information, I certainly would.
I had to ask.
Suffice it to say, it was just targeted areas around specific areas of New York City. The other aspect of targeting is that the location is one, but also members of audiences and habits, et cetera. Behavioral type targeting is very powerful as well. I don't think that we've run hundreds and hundreds of theatrical release and DVD release campaigns for so many different, basically all the studios, maybe not every studio, but we definitely have a lot of experience there. And one of the major components there is target moviegoers. People are horror movie fans for horror movies, et cetera. So there's lots of really good targeting that's available in mobile today that I think, every advertiser is looking how to leverage that targeting capability that's relevant to them. But I would agree, from a local perspective, location is absolutely a powerful one.
Great, thanks. Anybody else?
Now it's my turn to agree with you about the behavioral stuff. We've done a good bit of that as well across a number of different client verticals. And I think one of the things that we always try to do is think about its role in storytelling, right? So this is one of those, I'll call it a channel, I'll call it a screen, I guess screen's probably more apt, that is great for kind of gap filling, in terms of reaching a consumer in a place you probably can't reach them normally, and doing so in a way that can create some very unique value for them as well. So, how do you kind of leverage mobile very distinctly as part of that marketing mix, and that media mix is, really a focus for everything we do. And again, behavioral does a great job, I think, of paying off that expectation from a client standpoint. The other thing I'd add, just to kind of second Michael, is the third-party data is pretty powerful too. In terms of what we've been able to do, it really does drive a nice kind of infusion of insight. When you're dealing with things like for CPG, shopper card, loyalty card data, that's when you really get value. That's when it transcends, obviously, a message that you're pushing at a target, quote unquote, and translates into you delivering value to a person, to a human being. And I think ultimately, kind of using mobile to humanize kind of some of our marketing efforts is a really interesting concept. Is, kind of we think about this culture of mobility kind of just being so present amongst, I think, just about everybody these days, that at least, is really enabling their life with these kinds of devices.
Great, thanks.
I was one of the things that both of y'all have mentioned is how the screen, the channel, the device is with us all the time. And while a lot of the advertising that we work with is about serendipity, one of the more effective ways of doing that for us has been with day part targeting. Mobile media consumption kind of exists throughout the day rather than being kind of crammed into prime time where there's the clutter of TV and things like that. And with that usage across the day, it allows you to create stories and to do storyboarding in a more substantive way. So one of the things that we've done with theatricals, for example, that are premiering on Friday is that you can block out a Thursday night, deliver a 15 or 30 second miniature trailer, and then you place the full page display or banner ad on the Friday. So this is very comparable to doing the must-see TV on Thursday night and then placing the offer in the newspaper the next morning. So there are brand advertising tactics from traditional that you can do in mobile and are more effective and more measurable. And I think that's a very strong way to go.
Great, thanks. A couple of you guys have mentioned the third-party data sources. Ryan, you were talking about, especially for CPG, integrating shopper loyalty cards as a great example. Does anybody have an example that they can talk about at a high level, anyway, of a success story there?
Not very high, but we're still low because we're just, we're looking at it, we're evaluating. We know it exists, and we need to sort of ingest it in to see how it works with what we're already doing, and then what additional value it offers. Although we feel confident it will bring a lot of value to what we're already doing, but we're at the early stages.
Anybody else? No.
I think a good way of putting it, exploration. I think at the end of the day, there is, there's a trade-off inherent. Obviously, in doing some of this stuff, it takes a lot more time to get going, and it's much easier sometimes to just keep rolling with kind of your FSIs or whatever it might be. But at the end of the day, I think there is so much interest and so much kind of intrigue, at minimum, from a lot of our client partners that it's something we're very much prioritizing in terms of the way we're proceeding next year.
Okay, thanks. So we've talked about a few different flavors of targeting that we're using today and that we're leveraging. I guess my next question is, what are you hearing from the advertisers and the brands? Are there things that they're asking for that either aren't technically possible yet, or maybe that's it? Is there, basically I'm trying to get at, is there a delta between what's available today and what people are asking for, and how do we bridge that gap?
I can say sure. I mean, there clearly is, and the technology is getting there, at least from what we're seeing. Certainly, brands are clearly looking for much more than 320 by 50s, and they want to get outside of that and have more high impact. That's what we see, and I know for us, our focus has been very much on video. Is how do we bring a better video experience to the advertisers? But I would also make a claim that's a little different than what we're hearing here, is that I think a lot of what our advertisers find successful on the web seems to be also the types of things that they want to take to mobile. And when we see large high impact push down units, takeover units, those are the types of things that I'm hearing most about what advertisers want at this point. And being able to deliver those in an efficient and effective way is what our focus is right now. So taking the video experience and taking that high impact experience is very much where our focus is. Sure, it's different, the targeting's different, the ad unit is different, the opportunities are different in what we can do with it, but it's that same type of experience, that high impact unit is kind of where I think where we're trying to go now with our apps.
Anybody else?
I would agree with that. I mean, advertisers want more intrusive, larger, longer,
Elegant and immersive.
right. We can put it that way, but the truth of the matter is advertisers are on the front edge all the time, pushing how do we make things more targeted, more intrusive, elegant, however you want to put it. And there's a lot of good things that have been done on the web. I spent 6 years at an online ad network, and we saw lots of great innovation happen for certain, and a lot of that is being brought to mobile. So I in no way do I want to say that there isn't things that we can learn, but certainly for the advertisers are always going to want more. And Jeremy, to your question, are there barriers? They ask, we try to deliver it, and I would probably say that every company that's in the space right now is innovating something to try to bring those two together, whether it's us putting our mobile circulars so a person could take their shopping feeds and get it on someone's phone instead of buying that FSI that no one's reading in the newspaper anymore, or it's a new way to express video. There's so much advertisers are asking us for that we're all just on the cutting edge to try to help deliver it.
From local, the advertisers, what they expect from us are a lot of clicks. They also expect a lot of calls. And what we are seeing, there's a strong interest in video, because what's happening is local ads are being kind of rotated, and you as a consumer might have an immediate need at that time, and you might not be familiar with this particular location. So the ability for a local advertiser to run a little 15-second spot on their location gives some familiarity to that consumer and says, you know what, this is something, the image something I might want to go and support and participate. So those are the things that we're doing. And then once again, the driving directions and driving into that store, the better we get at actually measuring that will even just increase the value we offer these local advertisers.
Yeah, great, thanks. So a few you've also mentioned intrusive ad formats and sort of borrowing from some of the rich media things that we've seen work well on the desktop web. I'd like to switch to ad formats for a second and talk a little bit more about that. Are there particular things that you guys have experimented with that have been more effective than others? And what do those look like? I think rich media is one of the most compelling things about the mobile space, and there's a lot of innovation, to Marcus's point, going on there. So I'd love to just dig a little bit deeper there. Like, what's working really well for you guys in that space? Ryan, you want to start with that one?
Sure. I mean, rich media is performing well. I mean, again, and when I say performing well, I'm referencing, generally brand impact stuff. And, in a few instances, we've been able to do some light stuff with sales lifts or a direct response action, like an app download or something like that. So, it's a net positive story right now. But I think, at the end of the day, the performance reflects the understanding of the space, meaning to the extent that the creative agency partners, whomever they might be, or the creative agency at play, is able to kind of just understand the space and understand the role that this device plays in a person's life and the expectations that they have. I think for brand messaging in the space, it's such a personal device, and it is something that I think really people, obviously take to heart in a lot of ways. There's unique touch capabilities, obviously, that you can take advantage of. It needs to be fun. It needs to, worst case, it needs to be fun, right? It needs to be engaging. We've seen some great executions out there. I think the one that probably gets the most play is the True Blood HBO execution. It's a great, fun one, quick. But at the end of the day, too, if you can blend that, I think, with some of the other more kind of utilitarian pieces that we talked about in terms of, delivering some of that hard value back, that's great. But at the end of the day, entertainment's value, too. So, I think it's just you got to have a solid understanding of the space and what you want to do before we can really go there, because an intrusive rich media ad that's not really creating value is going to be just deadly for a brand.
Fun is not really intrusive, right? Fun is within the context of what you're already doing, and so we've been very sort of anti-intrusive ad formats. To video ads belong in front of video content. Magazine-like ads belong in photo galleries and news, and sort of the swiping feel of the tablet, that high-quality tactile print feel. But there are things that you can do with that within the context of a regular advertisement that can drive value. For example, full-page advertisements. What we found is that a call to action or a message around something social using Facebook or Twitter drives 50% better engagement and better brand lift than something that is a call to transact. So these ads are brand vehicles in terms of tapping to engage further or engaging with them further rather than a call to transact. Using these magazine-like ads, you can drive fun with it. One of the coolest executions we're doing right now is you're flipping through one of a tablet app like a CNBC or an ABC News, and this Hewlett-Packard's doing this campaign for their e-ink, and it's you tap through and there's this wonderful game where you can play to catch butterflies, and it's a great experience, but it's within the context of the media experience itself, and so it's not intrusive, but it is fun.
Yeah, and I think to that point, advertisers are learning how to be mobile. They're learning what mobile consumers are doing on their phone all the time, and all the statistics show that if they're not 40% of their time is now spent email, texting, or calling. The rest of the time is usually spent playing games or something like that. And if you look at a lot of the cutting-edge advertising that's taking place in mobile today, it's in the gaming industry on the iOS platform. And you even see developers using video ads, 15-second video ads to drive downloads. The thought of using a video ad to drive a download efficiently is something I don't think the rest of the market has caught up to yet. But there is incredible opportunity just to drive with that video ad a performance-type metric. And the other thing that I would say is I would point to the campaign we ran for Jackass 3D. When that movie launched, we did it globally, and we produced for them a game where people could actually engage with the unit itself was a game. So, we used to say 2 years ago, gosh, if you're going to advertise in mobile, make sure it's useful. And if someone's on the go and they absolutely need to get whatever they're getting and get out of there really quick. For the local ad space, absolutely, you want to drive them to the door of the mom and pop shop as quickly as you can. But on the national, branding engagement side, people are playing games on their phones, and whether it's catching butterflies or it's playing Smash It with the heads of the the cast of Jackass 3D, these things really create a brand message. And people always talk about value exchange, but ultimately spending that time with your brand is very valuable.
We, with our mobile ad network, we launched sort of a hybrid, not a hybrid, what would I call it? Sort of a modified rich media ad, because once again, when people come for local, they want the information. They want to know the name of the business, the phone number, the address, and where it's located. So it's sort of a hybrid type of rich media that it rotates, it gives information, it gives the ratings and reviews and directions, and it's a little more engaging than a pretty much static text ad.
Great, and that's been effective for your advertisers?
Actually, it has been very effective.
Yeah. If you had to generalize the sort of lift over the standard, can you disclose that even?
I would comfortably say it's probably, I would say maybe 1/4% lift or so.
Okay.
Somewhere a little
Great.
above that around.
Cool. So I want to jump to something that Ben touched on, which was sort of day part targeting. And I think one of the things that's really interesting to me about mobile in particular is that you're usually doing it while you're doing something else, right? It's with the exception of maybe watching video, right, on the device, watching TV content. Something like 80% of smartphone users are using their smartphones while they're watching television, for example, right? Or I'm out at the bus and I've got 5 minutes, so I'm on the phone looking something up, and so, it seems to me that there's also this other opportunity for sort of almost a new kind of contextual targeting that has more to do with sort of the physical environment. Part of it is location, but it seems like more than that to me. And I'm curious if you guys have experimented with that, whether it's TV multitasking or other types of targeting along those lines.
A couple quick examples. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, someone's on their smartphone over a Wi-Fi connection from a ISP type, a Comcast, a Verizon, or something, an AT&T type of broadband connection. Sorry. That's a great opportunity to hit someone with a real-time message around what are you making for dinner. So we're doing campaigns targeting folks while they're Wi-Fiing from home, while they're at businesses, while they're at hotels. There's a lot that can really take in from the context, and you combine that with a time of day, you really have some really great examples.
Yep, great. Anybody else?
I don't know. Every time I'm using one of these devices, I'm completely immersed. I had to delete all my Angry Birds games this weekend because I spent 3 hours trying to beat one level, and
unfortunately, they're really easy to download.
I'm gonna forget my password, I think.
Here's what we're seeing. What we've done is we've moved away. We've been a traditional search company, and now with the advent of the mobile phones and location, we're able to now partner with publishers that are not search-oriented. And so what we do now, what we're seeing is that there are relationships that consumers have with a particular application, and we see patterns, time of day, location. We see the types of ads that they actually click on as it relates to that particular publisher, and then we see patterns that evolve, so that what we're able to do then is pass certain types of ads at particular times of the day to that particular publisher, because we know that's what their consumer base is really interested in.
That's great. So I think we've got about 10 minutes left. I'd love to open it up if there are any audience questions for the panel. If not, I have more. Anybody? No? All right. Okay. Yeah.
It's about conversion. Hi. We're talking a lot about engagement units with rich media and everything, but what about conversion? How many people that are really engaging are converting in the end? Because a lot of companies, in the end, we're held accountable for leads. So what percentage are you seeing from the people that are engaging with the units that are really converting on generating any type of leads?
Any type of lead, or like downloads for brand applications, or
Any type of leads, let's say give me your information so you can, give me your email, type of leads where the company can then communicate with the consumer later on.
So like an email or an SMS opt-in,
Yeah.
for example. Yeah.
So every campaign is different from a conversion perspective, but what I would say is that my experience from an online perspective was that the performance advertisers who were driving online conversions really drove all the targeting that the brand advertisers are leveraging today. With mobile, I think it happened exactly the opposite way, where the initial advertisers in mobile were the mobile endemics trying to download ringtones to feature phones, and we learned a little bit from that. But now a lot of the advertising we are doing for performance advertisers is, give me your email and your zip code so we can give you relevant offers, or sign up for my destination information packet or something like that. So around particular conversion rates, it really, at the end of the day, still goes back to how easy is your conversion path. Are you trying to pull in the social security number on the mobile phone? People will give it to you, but you have to have a pretty compelling offer. So the conversion rates are all over the place, but the ability to do performance-based advertising for mobile web conversions is absolutely accelerating today.
For us, the true measurement of that conversion right now, and this is early stages, is the phone call. And so what we see, and it's really specific to a particular content or particular application, that the range could be 5 to 40% that a secondary call will happen after the initial click on that ad.
And I could add that, considering we have a site and apps that are very similar, when we have similar campaigns that are performance-based, we're seeing 2 to 3 times X on a conversion rate on the mobile stuff than we are on the direct web right now.
The other thing that I would just add, less data-centric, but more just kind of general perspective, Michael touched on a great point, I think, with the phone call piece. Ensure that, when you're thinking about conversion, you're taking a total view, obviously of that conversion too. I think one of the things that we're really interested in trying to figure out for some of our clients is what is the mobile to desktop conversion kind of play, and how natural is that, and how real is that, and what kind of impact should that have as we think about kind of attributing. We always talk about attribution, right, as a challenge in the performance space. Like, what is the role of mobile and attribution, and how does that break out? I think it's a pretty key question for everyone to think about too.
Yeah, how are you doing that? If you can talk about a little bit about that, because I think I think everybody is experimenting with that, right? And we've all got different models and everything. But the reality is it's even hard to track a conversion from mobile to mobile, in a lot of cases, right? So I'd love for you to talk just a little bit more about some of the at a high level.
Yeah, there isn't a ton I can say about it, obviously, but we're working with different channels, within the mobile space, not just display, to figure out where trackability could be enhanced in some way, shape, or form, and kind of aided with certain approaches. How do we tie, pieces, I guess, perhaps, of the mobile media ecosystem back to some of that, and then maybe start to make some assumptions around, an environment like display that could be a little more bifurcated, or like a video that might not have the same kind of reach. So it's very inferential, without a doubt at this point, but I think that's obviously to your point where everybody is. So trying to get there.
Fair enough. Any other questions from the audience?
I wanted to ask about sustainability. I'll start with Bill, about the ecosystem and how much revenue you're able to realize off of mobile, and whether the CPMs are such, or the relationships with whatever ad networks you're working with are such that you really are seeing a business model here where mobile can sustain. You're really making money off of those 2 billion page views a month.
So the short answer to that is no, we're not making a whole lot of money off of it right now. Because, as I mentioned earlier, it came at us so fast, the ability to monetize it has been challenging. The network CPMs that we're dealing with are quite low, quarter of what we're seeing on web CPMs. And as my direct sales team now is beginning to sell, sales cycles are typically 6 months. So we've only been selling this stuff 6 months. We've just really hit the market kind of selling, because it ramped up so fast that we had to get out there and build the right units and offer the proper things that brands want. So at this point, we're not seeing the numbers that we want to see, but we don't. That's not a concern. The way we're going to ramp is something that we're very bullish on, and are very confident it's going to be a major revenue source for us. It's just not yet right now.
I was wondering, maybe the various ad networks here could address that issue, because it's an issue that I hear from publishers all the time, that so far a lot of them are abandoning working with ad networks at all as a result. And I'm curious how you talk to publishers through this question of really monetizing all of this massive traffic they're starting to see.
So this is probably extremely relevant for me. I manage our media partnerships at Rhythm. I'm not on the advertiser side. And in this situation, we don't work with 10,000 partners. We work with 50. We work with 75% of those on an exclusive basis. And we work with the emerging media teams who have been tasked with building media businesses within these large media conglomerates that maybe don't make the same mistakes they made online, and show that advertising and content coming together, stature and personality, a known consistent audience delivering that message together can have real value, build value for brand advertisers, and deliver premium monetization to media companies. And so we've taken that philosophy, and that's worked well in mobile and soon to be, sort of other media. Our CPMs have held very steady for 3 years in video and full screen display. With some of our core advertisers, the CPMs have actually gone up to the extent that they've seen more value within full-length content within mobile, as well as the high completion rates for video, and the rise of tablet full-page advertising. So we're seeing really good strength in CPMs. And I think our partners are happy, but again, we're not dealing with the banner blindness world.
Bill's strategy of moving his clients over to video as fast as he can is not a bad one.
If you have video content, I think intrusive video is, and some of those units are really difficult still, because you want that context that matches the stature and personality of your brand, and that known consistent audience that's going to come and watch Gossip Girl week after week.
I think we have a unique position. One, we're a publisher, and two, we're also a mobile ad network. So from the publisher side, we see extreme demand from our local advertisers that want mobile as part of the advertising they're already running with us. They're running print, they're running online, and they want mobile. And as a result of that, we are producing products to serve that need. Now on the mobile ad network side, we see we're filling in a gap because there is so much available inventory, and we're filling in with our local ads, which creates no channel conflict with most of these publishers who have their own national sales staffs. So we fill a good role there. And there's no consistent pattern in terms of the CPMs we're generating. By content, it varies. By operating system, it varies. And some perform better than others, and some don't.
Oh, fantastic. I love, last words, so many things I could say. So I would agree with Ben. CPMs have held up over the past 3 years, and the more we get targeted and the better the ads become, the better results they provide, and the more the advertisers are willing to pay. It's a huge ecosystem, hundreds of billions of impressions a day. We do have premium publishers, but at the same time, we have tens of thousands of developers that, come to us and count on us to bring revenue to their application. So, Wenda Millard, who's on our board now, had a wonderful quote a few years ago about how ad networks were like selling pork bellies and impressions across the online space. And there is a lot of great performance advertising going on across mobile today, app developers downloading, and that produces low effective CPMs for publishers, absolutely. But I go back to the best stat that I've ever seen, which is I think $1.4 billion is going to be spent in mobile advertising in the US this year when it's all said and done, and something double of that next year. And so as the brand advertisers continue to invest because they're seeing results, those CPMs are on their way up. So I think we're very, very bullish on the marketplace.
Thanks so much. I think we're just about out of time. Thanks for the panel. Really appreciate your comments today.
We're going to take a short break for coffee. Be right back here after our coffee break, sponsored by Crisp. We'll be back here about 10 minutes for our RFP bake-off with Quaker Oats. Don't miss it, and then we're going to end the day before our cocktail.